Republican Senate Finance Committee members met with President Trump yesterday to talk about his tax and spending bill. This came as Elon Musk once again blasted the reconciliation bill and urged Congress to kill it. Joining us right now is Republican Senator James Lankford of Oklahoma. He's a member of the Finance Committee, and he was at yesterday's meeting with the president. Senator Lankford, thank you for being with us today. What happened yesterday at that meeting? Yeah,
about a 2-hour conversation about what's happening on taxes, what our agreement's going to be, what direction we're going to try to take. It was broad in many areas. The House has already passed their piece. The Senate's got to pass our piece then. That's going to line up with the House. Then the president's got to sign it. So it's very important we align all three together right now. And so it's a coordination meeting yesterday, quite frankly. We heard from Senator Ron Johnson yesterday on Squawk Box, and he was very outspoken about this, said he will not vote for a bill that's going to increase the deficit, doesn't like what's in this, and is not going to support it. How much more difficult does that make the math when you know you have other senators like Rand Paul and a few others who are lined up behind him? Yeah, I think Senator Johnson can speak for himself on this, but I think the focus that he has had all along is how fast can we reduce deficits? We have $2 trillion in overspending this year. His focus from the beginning is how fast can we actually start pulling that deficit down? The speed of that is actually based on the number of votes that you can get on it. So we got 215 votes in the House for their package. After their agreement was, we've got to get 51 in the Senate. So we got to get common agreement among all of it. There is common agreement among two things. We cannot allow the largest tax increase in history to happen in January. When we go from December to January, the tax rates all go up. We got to stop that. Everyone agrees with that. Second piece on it is how much can we reduce spending? That's where you got to get as many players together as possible, more than 51, to be able to get it done. So Senator Johnson's just continuing to push to say, don't forget about deficit, which none of us are. We've got to be able to get down as fast as we can.
His idea, though, Senator, and I don't know why it wouldn't work. You would know better than we do why, but I don't know if there's a rush. I mean, you got the executive branch and you got both houses of Congress. You could do two bills. You do one where you're concerned about the extending the tax cuts. You do that one. Then the next one, you really do try to get back to where we were before the pandemic, because the spending levels now are astronomically higher. The deficit was like, I don't know, in the first Trump, what was it, 600 billion, 700 billion? We're now stuck at 2 trillion. What would be the harm in taking your time and really looking at things to truly do what Republicans could do if they weren't worried about, re-election in 2 years?
Yeah, so a couple of things with that. One is we've got to get the tax part of this done as fast as we can.
Oh, so do that.
Right. I totally agree, because you've got to get the next 5 months or so for the IRS to be able to promulgate all the rules, to be able to get that out to businesses, and so that they know the new guidance based on the new tax policy, because we're trying to have the tax policy affect this year. And so that allows people to go ahead and start investing, in, if they haven't already, in the second part of this year. That helps our economy keep growing. That's the first piece. The second one is how much can we actually reduce spending? We got a lot of folks saying they're not going to do anything on the tax bill unless they're also doing something on the deficit. So we're trying to marry up as much as those can, saying this is step one so we can get to agreement. There's got to be a second, third, fourth step on this, quite frankly. With $2 trillion in overspending, we're not going to solve it all in 1 year. That'd be like having a jumbo mortgage saying we're going to pay it all off in November. We're not. Okay, we're going to have to take multiple steps on this to be able to pay on the jumbo mortgage that we've got.
I'm just worried that Ron Johnson's idea kind of would speak to people and make sense. And maybe even Majority Leader Thune did. Becky, you mentioned that he talked about it. Don't try and do it all in one bill.
Big bill. But, and do you have the votes?
Maybe you got to do it. Is the die been cast? We're too far down the road to go back and reconsider?
The bill, but it doesn't prevent us from doing another one. In fact, there was a lot of conversation even yesterday in the White House about can we continue to be able to make progress together on this, but we've got to be able to get this. The House has said, hey, we barely cobbled together 215 votes on this. We can't back up and then do another one and try to be able to figure out, let's get this one done. And then because there's a lot more to be done. So.
We knew all along the problem was going to be trying to get the House together. That's why Speaker of the House wanted to make sure it was one big bill. But do you have the votes in the Senate? Are your senators willing to say, OK, we will take what the House has handed us? It's not been the vibe in the Senate in the past. It's certainly not what they've agreed to, and that's not what we have heard from several senators on this program this week. Again,
we're not going to take
do
it.
You have the count? Do you have the vote count?
Yeah, we're not going to take it as is. We do not have the vote count to be able to just take what the House did. Now, we're doing some tweaks on it. When we send it back to the House, we want the House to recognize it and say, yep, that's my child. It's just wearing different clothes. They've got to be able to recognize the bill that's coming back to them. But there are things we want to do on this. Obviously, 215 House members put their fingerprints on it. Now it's time for 51 senators to also put their fingerprints on it and then to be able to get a final bill. That's the coordination meeting yesterday with the White House, because when this is done from Congress, the president's still got to be able to sign it. So all three groups have got to be able to say, yep, it has the things I'm looking for on it, and it's got to reduce spending, and it's got to prevent a major tax increase.
Reporting suggests that the SALT cuts, the SALT tax of $40,000 is on the chopping board here. Is that the case from the Senate? It doesn't sound like there are any senators who are a big fan of increasing the SALT tax deductions. And if so, is the House going to recognize as their child with different clothes? Because there were some serious holdouts in the House who said, no way, not without that increase.
Yeah, I get it. It's $353 billion in total cost to be able to do the SALT increase that the House put in. There's not a senator that's fighting for the SALT piece on it. We understand very clearly that this is literally a transfer back and forth. In my state, in Oklahoma, we pay more in federal taxes for someone who makes the same exact amount of money that someone does in New York if we change that SALT piece on it. So we want to make sure that this is balanced out. I feel sorry for the folks that live in New York. Excuse all my friends that are there because of the tax rates that they have to be able to live under. But we also understand every other state shouldn't be punished for what's actually happening there. So there will be an argument back and forth on it. We are going to do something on SALT. We need to because the folks in the House are making that a compelling argument and saying we have to do this. But we're trying to figure out what that can be.
So, Senator, change it to 30,000 or 20,000 instead of 40?
Well, I wish just the three of us could settle it right now, but it's going to actually take 51 to be able to settle it.
We live in Jersey, and we don't. I don't know. I don't know what that doesn't do anything. Senator, so are you saying that there are still concerns with the existing bill, that the deficit has increased too much and that you'd have to do additional things in next year or later this year or something? So there is an acknowledgement that this bill is not perfect in terms of how much it cuts, because I know it cuts, what, $1.5 trillion or something, but what's the total spending over the 10 years? It's like 90 trillion or something. It's like or more, isn't it? It's like a drop in the bucket. Republicans are in charge. This is their moment. Isn't there a way to do more, or are the votes not there and it's just the reality of the situation?
Much as we can and still have the votes on it. This is a step at a time. Let me take, for instance, the Medicaid that everyone's going crazy over. The Medicaid's largest part of it. It's just a work requirement on it. People are screaming and saying, hey, it's kicking people off Medicaid. It's not kicking people off Medicaid. It's transitioning from Medicaid to employer-provided health care. So, yes, we've got 10 million people that are not going to be on Medicaid, but they then are going to be on employer-provided health care. We think that's a better option for the taxpayer and, quite frankly, for their families as well. And so we're still arguing through all those different pieces, trying to get as much as we can done. But as I say, this is a step that we're going to continue to chip away. We're not going to deal with a $2 trillion overspending all in one moment. We're going to have to chip away at this to be able to get the votes to be able to do it a piece at a time.
Senator, again, we're facing this deadline of July 4th is a deadline they'd like to see, a deadline of later this summer, because the debt ceiling is part of all of this, too. President Trump and Elizabeth Warren have both agreed that they would like to see the debt ceiling just gotten rid of, no longer requiring lawmakers to agree to go over the debt limit on these issues. Do you agree with the two of them?
I think we do need to find a better way to be able to do this because it is not actually limiting our spending. The debt ceiling itself was designed to be able to be a limiting factor to say we're not going to go farther than this without having some conversation about debt. That seems to have gone away. So we do need to find a better way to be able to do this so that actually Congress is actually fighting through overspending and finding a way to be able to reduce it, but without actually causing all kinds of chaos globally and in the bond market as we approach those dates. So I think the way it's happening is the wrong way to do it, but we do need to have a way that we're actually focused on what is the moment when Congress has to act to be able to look at our deficit. Because I would tell you, Congress works when it has to work on things. I've been frustrated for years on the debt issues, trying to be able to push on this. When we get to deadlines, we get focused. When there's not a deadline, there's not a focus. So something needs to be there to be able to keep Congress focused.
Do you think that you will have this bill passed by both sides and signed by the president by July 4th?
That is our goal. But yes, we're working towards getting to that spot on it, and we're going to keep working until we get it done at this point. If we don't get it done by July the 4th, there's not major calamity at that point, but we need to give as much time as we can for the IRS to be able to promulgate all the rules they've got to get out so we can actually have an effect in this year. July the 4th is still our target. That's still what we're working towards, and I think we're going to get there.